Some people hurt you and you see it coming. They raise their voice. They cross boundaries. They make their intentions loud and clear. But others? They smile when they speak. They say all the right things. They seem helpful, even kind, even loving. And yet, after every interaction with them, you feel just a little bit more confused, a little more off-center, a little less you. These are not just difficult people. They are what I call human demons. I don't mean that literally. I mean it energetically, spiritually. They thrive not by building. They thrive by draining your peace, your clarity, your confidence. They don't break you outright. They erode you, quietly, over time. And the most dangerous part? They make you feel guilty for even suspecting them. You'll find yourself saying things like, "Maybe I'm just overthinking. They didn't mean it that way. It's probably my fault for being too sensitive." But friend, you're not crazy. What you're feeling is real, and it's time to call it what it is. In this video, we're going to explore something that might just shift the way you see your relationships forever. 5 unmistakable signs. Someone is quietly destroying your peace. And no, this isn't about blaming, demonizing, or becoming bitter. It's about recognition. Because the first step to freedom, the first step to reclaiming your life, is knowing exactly who and what is stealing your energy. See, these people aren't obvious villains. They don't wear warning signs. They blend in. They charm. They compliment. They even help. But beneath the surface, they plant doubt. They stir guilt. They twist your words, question your memory, distort your reality. All while acting like they're the only one who truly understands you. This is manipulation at its most refined. They'll break your trust without ever raising their voice. And the result? You stop trusting yourself. That's when the real damage begins. Because once you lose connection with your inner compass, once you start outsourcing your worth, your truth, your instincts to someone who thrives on your confusion, you begin to fade from your own life. But it doesn't have to stay that way. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes your shield. The Stoics taught us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we perceive them, how we respond, how we protect our peace in a chaotic world. Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest Stoics to ever live, said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and your thoughts are deeply affected by the people you let close." So today, I want to give you more than just information. I want to give you clarity, because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. You'll begin to notice how some people only show up when you're weak, never when you're winning. Some people speak support, but sow suspicion. Some people wear concern like a costume, when what they're really doing is keeping you small. So, let me ask you, have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, even though nothing bad was said? Do you feel like you're always walking on eggshells around someone who claims to love you? Have you ever felt more alone with someone than you did by yourself? If you nodded to any of those, stay with me. This video might just confirm what your soul already knows, but hasn't been able to put into words. And more than that, it will empower you. Because once we go through these 5 signs together, you won't just be able to spot these people. You'll know exactly how to respond. With calm, with clarity, with strength. Not with bitterness, but with boundaries. Not with rage, but with reason. Not by screaming, but by stepping away. Because here's the truth. You are not here to be someone's emotional puppet. You are not here to absorb someone else's chaos. You are not here to play small so someone else can feel big. You were made for more. You were made for peace. And you were made to walk freely in your truth, even if it means walking alone for a season. The Stoics didn't teach us to avoid hardship. They taught us to walk through it with dignity, with eyes wide open, with a soul that is clear, not clouded. So if you're ready to reclaim your energy, if you're ready to trust your gut again, if you're ready to draw the line between compassion and self-destruction, then let's begin. Because the longer we wait to recognize the emotional predators around us, the deeper they root themselves in our lives. But once you see it, once you know the truth, you can reclaim your peace. Let's expose the first sign and begin the journey back to yourself. Sign 1. Energy drainers, the people who quietly deplete your soul. Let's talk about energy. Not just physical energy, the kind you use to lift boxes or climb stairs. I'm talking about the deeper kind, your emotional energy, your mental clarity, your spiritual fuel, that inner fire that allows you to show up in the world with hope, focus, and strength. Now, what if I told you some people are quietly stealing that from you, and you might not even realize it? This brings us to the first unmistakable sign of a spiritually destructive person. They drain your energy. You know the type. They're constantly negative. They turn your good news into something to worry about. They don't ask, "How are you?" They unload on you the moment you pick up the phone. And worst of all, they don't give back. These are what I call emotional siphons. They don't feed your soul. They feed on it. It starts small. A complaint here. A vent session there. And of course, you're an empathetic person. You listen, you care, you support. But over time, you start to notice something. You're exhausted after every conversation. You feel heavy after every interaction. You begin to dread hearing their name on your phone. Not because you don't care, but because you're running out of fuel. This is what emotional contagion looks like. Negativity spreads. Despair spreads. And when someone is constantly pulling from you, but never pouring into you, eventually, you go empty. Here's something most people don't talk about. Your energy is your responsibility. Just like you wouldn't let someone take money out of your bank account every day without contributing a cent, you shouldn't allow someone to withdraw from your emotional balance without reciprocation. Now, don't get me wrong. We all go through hard times. We all need support. That's part of being human. But there's a difference between a friend in need and a person who feeds on your empathy like it's a bottomless well. Here's how energy drainers often operate. 1. They escalate slowly. What starts as occasional complaints becomes daily drama. 2. They rarely ask about you. Or if they do, it's only a segue into more of their own problems. 3. They leave you feeling guilty if you need space. 4. And worst of all, they thrive on your attention, but vanish when you need theirs. These people often target the most empathetic among us. Why? Because they know we won't say no. They know we'll absorb their problems like a sponge. They know we'll stick around long after our peace has left the room. But Stoic philosophy teaches us something different. Seneca, one of the wisest Stoics, once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." That's the kind of relationship we should be striving for. Not perfect, not always easy, but mutual, uplifting, respectful. The Stoics were incredibly clear about this. You must choose your associations wisely, because who you allow into your emotional space will shape your thoughts, your days, and your destiny. If someone is constantly draining your energy, then every moment you spend with them is a moment not spent pursuing your peace, your purpose, or your passion. Think of your inner world like a sacred garden. Who are you letting walk through it? Are they planting seeds, or pulling up roots? Are they watering your soul or stepping on the flowers? Let me ask you, who in your life do you feel emotionally lighter around? And who, no matter how much you care about them, always seems to leave you a little more tired, a little more cynical, a little less like yourself? It might be time to set a boundary, not out of hate, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom, out of self-respect. Because here's a truth that many kind-hearted people struggle to accept. You can love someone and still say, "This is no longer healthy for me." You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can care and still close the door to constant chaos. That's not cruelty. That's maturity. And it might just save your life. So what can you do if you've identified an energy drainer in your life? Here's where Stoicism meets real-world action. 1. Create clear boundaries. That might mean shorter conversations. It might mean not answering every call. It might mean saying, "I care about you, but I don't have the capacity for this right now." That's not selfish. That's healthy stewardship of your energy. 2. Audit your emotional investments. At the end of the week, reflect. Who poured into you? Who only pulled from you? Then make adjustments. Even small ones matter. 3. Reclaim your space, mentally and physically. Go where you feel calm. Be around people who restore you. Feed your mind with clarity, not noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think or do, only what you do." In other words, protect your inner world, because that's the only one you truly control. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what if this person is family, or a long-time friend? Then the answer isn't always cutting them out. It's managing the access they have to your emotional world. Not everyone deserves front-row seats to your life. Some people belong in the balcony. Some people might not belong in the theater at all, and that's okay, because you deserve to walk through life light, not burdened, clear, not clouded, energized, not exhausted. And it begins when you stop apologizing for protecting your peace. So if you've been feeling drained lately, if you've been pouring from an empty cup, if your spirit feels heavy and you can't quite figure out why, look around, check your circle, and ask yourself, who brings peace into my life? And who takes it? The answers might surprise you, but once you know them, you'll have the power to choose. And that choice? That's where freedom begins. Sign 2. Gaslighting reality. Manipulation. The silent attack on your sanity. Sometimes, abuse doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't slam doors. It rewrites the truth and makes you question your mind. This is one of the most dangerous tactics a toxic person can use. And it's our second unmistakable sign. They gaslight you. They manipulate your reality. Gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. It's a deeply psychological form of emotional abuse. It's when someone deliberately distorts the truth to make you doubt yourself, your memory, your decisions, your judgment, even your sanity. And it's almost always subtle at first. You bring up something they said, and they reply, "I never said that. You must be imagining things." You try to hold them to an agreement, and suddenly that's not what we agreed on. Don't twist my words. You express how something made you feel, and they throw back, "Wow, you're so sensitive. You always make things bigger than they are." At first it feels like miscommunication, but over time, something deeper starts to happen. You begin to second-guess yourself. You start writing down conversations, just to make sure you're not going crazy. You rehearse your thoughts before speaking, so you don't get it wrong. You apologize for things you're not even sure you did. You begin to rely not on your own perception of reality, but theirs. And that is exactly the goal. Gaslighting isn't just about winning an argument. It's about controlling the narrative, so that the only version of truth that survives is theirs. Let me give you a real-world example. Jason was a young entrepreneur, brilliant guy, full of ideas, full of drive. He started a business with someone he trusted, a close friend who seemed to share the same vision. At first, things went well. But over time, Jason started to notice some strange inconsistencies. Decisions that had been mutually agreed upon were suddenly denied. Financial moves he questioned were brushed off with, "You're remembering that wrong. You're always so paranoid. Maybe you're just not cut out for this." It got to the point where Jason didn't even trust himself in meetings anymore. He stopped speaking up, stopped suggesting ideas, stopped leading. Because deep down he started to believe the narrative. Maybe I'm the problem. Eventually the business failed, not because Jason lacked ability, but because he'd been gaslighted out of his own authority. This is the silent destruction of self-trust. And without self-trust, we become vulnerable to control. Now you might be wondering, why would someone do this? It's not always because they're evil. Sometimes it's because they're insecure. They can't tolerate being questioned. They can't handle the discomfort of accountability. So instead of growing, they manipulate. They'd rather distort your perception than deal with their own reflection. But here's what Stoicism teaches us about this kind of behavior. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed." That's real strength, real character, real integrity. Gaslighters, by contrast, don't seek truth. They seek control. And the Stoics warned us to remain anchored, to keep our minds sovereign, our thoughts clear, and our perception guarded. So how do we defend ourselves from gaslighting? Here are the tools that the Stoic mindset gives us, and they are powerful. 1. Ruthless honesty with yourself. Start by grounding yourself in what you know to be true. Write things down if you have to. Keep records, journals, notes, dates, details. Gaslighting thrives in mental fog, so become a witness to your own reality. Document what matters. It's not paranoia, it's clarity. 2. Set boundaries. Hard ones. When someone constantly invalidates your truth, you have the right and the responsibility to limit their access. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove your point over and over. You don't need their permission to trust yourself again. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you can say is, "That's your opinion. I'm no longer available for this conversation." And walk away. 3. Surround yourself with truth-tellers. The Stoics understood that our environment shapes our thinking. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." So ask yourself, who in your life reinforces your clarity? Who reminds you of your truth when someone tries to bury it? Who listens without twisting your words or rewriting your memories? These are your lifelines. Hold them close. Let me ask you something. Quietly, honestly. Have you ever found yourself explaining your feelings to someone who never seems to listen, but always seems to win? Have you ever started questioning your own memory after every argument? Have you stopped trusting your gut because someone keeps convincing you it's broken? If you answered yes, you're not broken. You've just been manipulated. But now, you see it. And once you see it, you don't unsee it. Here's what I want you to remember. You are not too sensitive. You are not confused. You are not irrational. You are waking up. And with that awakening comes power. The power to pull back, the power to protect your perception, the power to say, I trust myself again. You don't owe anyone the right to rewrite your reality. The Stoics taught that our perception is our power. Guard it, sharpen it, stand on it. Because when someone tries to twist your truth, the strongest response is not rage, it's clarity. And the most radical thing you can do is this: believe yourself when someone else is trying to erase you. Sign 3. Deliberate drama creators, the chaos architects in your life. Not all chaos is random. Sometimes it's carefully crafted, not by chance, but by choice. Not by accident, but by design. There are people in this world, maybe even in your life right now, who don't just react to drama. They create it, they stir it, they thrive on it. And that brings us to the third unmistakable sign of someone who quietly destroys your peace. They manufacture chaos, not as a one-time slip-up, not as a moment of poor judgment, but as a pattern, a tool they use to gain emotional control. These people don't want harmony. Harmony is too quiet for them. What they crave is noise. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed someone always seems to start an argument right before something important happens, like a big meeting, a family gathering, or a personal milestone? Have you felt someone bring up past wounds just when you're finally finding peace? And have you caught yourself walking on eggshells because you're always afraid of what mood they'll be in today? This isn't just emotional immaturity. It's a tactic. It's deliberate drama creation. They stir up conflict not because they're out of control, but because it gives them control. Let's be clear. This isn't about people going through hard seasons. We all have those. This is about people who are addicted to conflict, people who create emotional messes so they can stay at the center of attention. Because when there's chaos, guess who becomes needed? Them. Guess who suddenly matters most? Them. Guess who gets to distract everyone from the truth? Them. And the damage. It's deep. These chaos creators are often masters of timing. They know exactly when to push buttons, exactly what to say to stir the pot, exactly who to pit against whom, and how to look innocent in the process. Here's an example that may sound familiar. A woman named Olivia was part of a tight-knit team at work. For years, things ran smoothly, until one person, let's call him Brad, joined the team. Brad was charming, quick-witted, and constantly just trying to help. But over time, Olivia noticed a pattern. Every time the team had a big presentation, Brad would find a way to cause a blow-up the day before. He'd suddenly accuse someone of slacking, or leak something to leadership, or bring up an old mistake from months ago. It always threw the team into panic mode. And who stepped in to fix everything? Brad. Eventually, Olivia realized Brad didn't want peace. Brad wanted power, and his weapon was drama. Now, this is where Stoic philosophy comes in, not just as a coping mechanism, but as a strategy for freedom. The Stoics taught that chaos exists, but it doesn't have to enter us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." And this is one of the greatest shields we have. When you're dealing with someone who thrives on chaos, the most powerful thing you can do is this: refuse to join their storm. They want a reaction. They feed on your emotional energy. They want you hooked, arguing, defending, spiraling, explaining. So how do you take back your peace? You opt out. Here's how to start. 1. Spot the pattern, not just the moment. Ask yourself, does this person consistently create tension at key moments? Do they often revive old grudges at the worst possible times? Are they always coincidentally at the center of drama, yet never to blame? Once you spot the pattern, you can stop taking the bait. 2. Set boundaries without explanation. You don't owe them long explanations. You don't need to convince them you're right. You don't even need to clear the air. You can simply say, "I'm not engaging in this right now," and leave it there. Your peace is not up for negotiation. 3. Walk away, physically or emotionally. Sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is walk out of the room. Sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's a season. But when peace becomes a war zone, your exit is not weakness. It's wisdom. The Stoics believed that the only true power we have is over our own mind. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And drama creators? They use imagination as a weapon. They get in your head. They distort your peace. They whisper worst-case scenarios. They ignite fires, and then hand you the extinguisher, as if you're the one who caused the blaze. But here's the truth. You don't need to fight every fire. You can let some burn out on their own by not giving them oxygen. And that oxygen is your attention, your energy, your reaction. Take that away and watch how quickly the chaos dies. Let me ask you something. Who in your life always has something dramatic going on, but never takes responsibility? Who gets uncomfortable when things are calm? Who seems to live in a whirlwind and wants to pull you into it? That's not just bad luck. That's emotional warfare. And if you don't step out now, you'll spend your whole life cleaning up messes that were never yours to begin with. You weren't made to live in reaction mode. You weren't built to constantly brace for emotional impact. You were meant to live clear, anchored, centered, and that starts the moment you stop trying to calm someone else's storm and start protecting your own sky. Sign 4. Systematic relationship destruction. Let me ask you something. Have you ever lost a connection with someone you cared about, and deep down you couldn't quite explain why? No blow-up, no betrayal, just slow, growing tension. Little seeds of doubt, misunderstandings that never seemed to resolve, moments where something just shifted. And later, when you looked back, you realized someone else was in the middle, whispering, nudging, stirring. That's not a coincidence. That's a strategy. And it brings us to sign #4 of a spiritually destructive person. They systematically destroy your relationships. This isn't just drama. This is deliberate division. These are people who walk into a room, and instead of building connection, they start cutting the threads between others, one by one. They use your trust like a tool. They take what you've shared with vulnerability and turn it into a weapon. And worst of all, they don't look like the villain. They look like the mediator. The one in the middle, trying to help. But in reality, they're engineering the entire collapse. So when the dust settles, you are isolated, and they are the only one left standing beside you. Let's break it down. These people operate with precision. They don't just create chaos randomly. They divide and conquer. Here's how they do it. They listen carefully when you vent, not to support you, but to collect emotional ammo. Then they whisper your words to others, but twisted just enough to stir distrust. They carry gossip in both directions, always playing the concerned friend. They plant small doubts. I probably shouldn't say this, but I thought you should know. They pit people against each other, then step back and say, "Wow, I hate seeing you two like this." It's psychological warfare. And the battlefield? Your relationships. Let me share an example. A man named David once had a small circle of friends he trusted like family. One day, someone new entered the picture, a woman named Lena, who seemed kind, empathetic, and incredibly supportive. But slowly, the group dynamics began to shift. David's friends stopped calling as much. Small tensions started to appear. Disagreements, cold shoulders, subtle slights. Things he thought were solid started to feel unstable. And through it all, Lena was there for him. She always had insight into what was really going on. She sympathized with his frustrations. She always said, "I just want you to know the truth." But that truth was poison, carefully administered in doses. Months later, when the truth came out, David discovered Lena had been passing private conversations from one friend to another, always reshaping the message just enough to spark conflict. Her goal? Isolation. Because once he lost trust in everyone else, she became the only person he leaned on. This is what manipulation looks like when it puts on a friendly face. And it's why Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher and emperor, gave us this urgent reminder. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. It's easy to get pulled into the same games, to gossip back, to defend, accuse, retaliate. But Stoicism calls us to higher ground, to clarity, to restraint, to peace through boundaries and integrity, not war. So what do you do when you recognize someone is systematically undermining your relationships? Let me offer you 3 powerful steps. 1. Close the confessional door. If someone repeatedly leaks what you've told them in confidence, stop giving them access. Not everything you feel needs to be shared with everyone who listens, especially not someone who weaponizes your words. Test this. Share something small, neutral, and see if it finds its way back to you from someone else's mouth. You'll know very quickly who's who. 2. Go direct. Cut the triangle. If you feel tension with someone, don't go through a middleman. Don't let third parties control the story. Say, "Hey, I heard something." Instead of guessing, "I'd rather talk directly to you." Manipulators hate this. Why? Because truth destroys triangulation. 3. Watch the fruit, not the face. A Stoic approach teaches us to judge by results, not appearances. Ask yourself, do I feel more connected to others after talking to this person, or more isolated? Do my relationships improve or slowly deteriorate? Do I feel emotionally stronger or subtly weaker? If the answer leans negative, step back. Even if they seem kind, even if they mean well. Because intentions don't matter when the effect is destruction. Now let me ask you, who in your life always seems to be the common denominator in every misunderstanding? Who always knows just enough to stir the pot? Who offers concern on the surface, but leaves confusion in their wake? That person may not be obvious, but if they constantly leave your world more divided than they found it, it's time to name it. Because peace isn't just about feeling calm. It's about being in relationships where you're safe, to grow, to trust, to be vulnerable without being sabotaged. And when someone is undermining that foundation, you don't have to hate them. You don't have to expose them. But you do have to remove their influence from your inner world. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is in your power to retire into yourself whenever you choose. So if you've been feeling torn between people, if you've been second-guessing your closest bonds, if you've lost trust in relationships that once felt unbreakable, maybe it's not just miscommunication. Maybe someone's been whispering behind the scenes. But now, You see it. And that's where your power begins. You are not here to be emotionally isolated. You are not here to be controlled through confusion. You are not here to be someone's project of manipulation. You are here to live freely, to love clearly, to protect the peace you were meant to have. Walk away from the whisperers, return to truth, and let what's real rise again. Sign 5. They attack your confidence, potential. Some people will clap for you when you win. Some will cheer you on while you grow. Some will even stand beside you when you fail and remind you of your strength. But then there are others. People who don't need to scream. People who don't need to insult you directly. People who wear a smile while slowly dismantling your belief in yourself. They'll say it's just tough love. They'll say they're just being realistic. They'll say they don't want to see you get hurt. But underneath all those noble words is a pattern, a quiet erosion of your confidence. And that brings us to the 5th unmistakable sign of a spiritually destructive person. They attack your confidence and potential. This is one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation, not because it's violent, but because it's invisible. Not because it crushes you at once, but because it shrinks you slowly. They'll question your dreams. They'll downplay your wins. They'll laugh at your ambition, but call it banter. They'll scoff at your progress, but call it honesty. And over time, you stop reaching, you stop trying, you stop believing. Let me share a story. A woman named Rachel wanted to leave her safe, stable, but soul-crushing job to pursue a path in wellness coaching. She'd studied, prepared, built a plan. She wasn't reckless. But when she finally got the courage to share it with someone close to her, someone she loved, the reaction was sharp. Coaching? That's not a real career. You know how many people fail trying to do stuff like that? You should be grateful you have a real job. And just like that, her dream shrank. Rachel stayed in the job another 5 years, not because she wasn't ready, but because someone else's fear disguised as tough love became louder than her own intuition. You see, people like this don't destroy your life overnight. They destroy your momentum, and without momentum, we get stuck. Now, are these people evil? Not always. Some of them truly believe they're helping. But the effect is the same. You begin to question your own path. And once you lose faith in your direction, someone else will start steering the wheel. This is why Stoic philosophy is so powerful here, because it teaches us how to guard the one thing no one should ever take from us, our mind. The Stoic thinker, Chrysippus, once said, "He who entrusts his mind to the judgment of fools deserves to suffer." Now that may sound harsh, but it's true. If you constantly surround yourself with voices that belittle your vision, question your capability, and throw shade on your spark, you will eventually start living a version of life that was designed by their fears, not guided by your values. Let me ask you, have you ever been excited about something and left a conversation feeling deflated? Have you ever celebrated a small win and been told it was no big deal? Have you ever dreamed out loud and been met with silence, or worse, sarcasm? That is not support. That's sabotage in slow motion. So how do you protect your potential from people like this? Not by arguing, not by trying to convince them, but by reclaiming your right to believe in yourself with clarity, conviction, and calm. Here are 3 Stoic-inspired strategies that work. 1. Draw the line between discernment and doubt. It's wise to welcome constructive feedback, but it's dangerous to absorb destructive doubt. So ask yourself, does this person challenge me to be better, or just try to make me smaller? Do their words come from love for my growth or fear of my change? There's a big difference. 2. Don't outsource your self-worth. You don't need everyone to understand your calling. You just need the courage to answer it. Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. So yes, some people will laugh. Let them. They're not walking your path. 3. Surround yourself with growers, not shrinkers. Find the people who light up when you grow, the ones who say, go for it, even if they don't fully get it. Seneca wrote, associate with those who will make a better man of you. If someone's voice always leaves you smaller than you arrived, it's time to listen less, or walk away. And here's the truth I want you to take with you. You are not too ambitious. You are not delusional. You are not too much. You are becoming. And becoming something new often offends those still committed to the old version of you. Don't let their limitation become your ceiling. Don't let their fear become your compass. And don't let their tough love steal your real love for what you're building. You don't owe anyone your potential in exchange for their comfort. You're allowed to pursue what lights you up. You're allowed to dream big and fail forward. You're allowed to grow beyond the version of you they were comfortable with. Because this version of you, the one who's starting to believe again, that's the real one. And if someone's voice is dimming your fire, here's your permission to step away from it, before it becomes the reason you never start. You were made to walk in courage, not shame. You were made to create, not shrink. You were made to grow, even if it makes some people uncomfortable. So, protect your mind, honor your instincts, and build the life that you know you were born to live. Let's take a breath together. You've just heard 5 of the most subtle, dangerous ways toxic people infiltrate our lives. And if any part of this resonated with you, if something clicked, or a name came to mind, or you felt that quiet yes deep in your chest, I want you to know that is not weakness. That is awareness. That is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Let's recap the signs. 1. They drain your energy. Every encounter leaves you feeling smaller, heavier, or more exhausted, because they take and never give. 2. They gaslight your reality. They rewrite the truth and make you question your memory, your instincts, your sanity. 3. They manufacture chaos. Drama doesn't follow them. They create it, feed it, and thrive in the fire. 4. They isolate you, quietly dismantling your relationships. They divide and conquer until they're the only voice you can hear. 5. They attack your confidence. They disguise discouragement as realism, undermining your dreams while pretending to care. These people, these human demons as we've called them, not in the mythological sense, but in the way they sabotage souls, do not always come with warning signs. In fact, many come wrapped in smiles. They say they love you. They say they're helping. They may even believe that they are. But here's the harsh truth. Not everyone in your life wants to see you free. Not everyone benefits from your growth. Not everyone can handle your healing. Because your boundaries threaten their control. Your peace disrupts their chaos. Your light reveals what they're trying to keep in the dark. And so, the most important decision you can make after watching this? Decide who gets access to your mind, your heart, and your time. Because this life, your life, is too sacred, too short, too valuable, to be spent catering to manipulators, emotional vampires, or agents of confusion. Now, the Stoics gave us a roadmap for this kind of clarity. They taught us that peace is not passive. It's something we build. It's something we guard. It's something we choose every day. Marcus Aurelius said, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. And Epictetus reminded us, no person is free who is not master of himself. This is what freedom looks like. Saying no without guilt. Creating distance without drama. Choosing relationships that restore you, not ones that constantly require repair. But make no mistake, freedom comes with cost. You will lose people when you start choosing peace. You will disappoint those who depended on your silence. You will feel lonely for a while, as you detox from connection that was built on dysfunction. But here's the promise I can make. On the other side of that loss is power. The power to live with integrity, to build from truth, to love without manipulation, to grow without guilt. So here's what I want to leave you with. Trust your gut. You are not crazy. You're becoming clear. Guard your peace. It is your sacred ground. Do not let unworthy feet trample it. Don't let anyone shrink your life to fit their comfort zone. If they can't handle your light, let them stay in the dark. That is not your problem to solve. You are not born to carry emotional weight for everyone else. You are not created to fix people who refuse to take responsibility. You are not designed to keep playing small just so someone else can feel big. You are here to live, to heal, to grow, to lead your life, not survive someone else's storm. And if this video helped you take even one step toward that, then this wasn't just a warning. It was a wake-up call to remember your worth, to reclaim your strength, to return to yourself. Because you, yes, you deserve peace. Not just sometimes, not just when it's convenient, always. If this message spoke to something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, grounded in truth, clarity, and freedom. And drop a comment below. Which of these 5 signs hit hardest for you? We read them. We respond. This is a space for real people, healing in real time. You're not alone in this. You're not behind, and you're not broken. You're just finally waking up. Stay strong, stay awake, and as always, choose peace, even when it costs you people. Because the right ones will never ask you to sacrifice your soul.